So, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I am going to endorse and fully fight for a candidate in an election in the United States. Now, you can go back and read any of my blogs. I may have supported someone out of necessity, but you'll never hear that I really liked anyone. I wrestled with this decision all through thus far the primary season, which everyone needs to realize, first of all, is just starting. It's not it's not Mitt takes all already. I know that the media would like you to believe that, but it's not. There's huge states coming up where no one's even registered, but two of them. You have to remember that. So those delegates are getting assigned somewhere, and it's not to the other people, the non-Romneys, and it's not to people that have dropped out. So you have to keep that in mind. But like I said, I've had favorites, and as far as out of necessity. But this time, I'm with someone who actually moves me. I'm with someone who, for once, speaks common sense. And this time, I am going to vigorously support Ron Paul for President of the United States. I know a lot of people don't like him, and that's fine. And he's looped in with as a loony, and that's fine. As I've said in my blog already, fine. Call me loony. I'm going to be loony because even the most logical of you guys have to admit that at some point, the guy who thinks out of the box has to be a better choice than decades of in the box thinking that has gotten you nowhere. Okay? Of course, Ron Paul is loony to a point because he's a libertarian. He's run as a Republican. He's done it his whole life, but he's a libertarian. You can listen to anyone in Congress. He's never lobbied for a vote. No one ever tries to get his support because they know, plain and simple, it's a wasted effort. This man will not vote against his convictions, period. No matter how much money you offer him, no matter how much you offer his district, no matter what favors you offer him, he's not going to do it. The Republican leadership will even tell you that. He's not a team player for them. He doesn't attend their private caucus meetings. He never has. It's not for him. He's there on his convictions alone. And that in itself is amazing. I mean, let's be honest. I have so many liberal friends. I know I do. You guys know who you are, and I love you to death. But we all agree on this general idea that both of the parties are horrible. One just may pander more towards you view than the other. And we all generally agree we need a third party president. And it's dreamy. We think of it and it's a dream, okay? But this year, it's not a dream. You have a man running for the Republican ticket that is a third party candidate. He is not a Republican. He appeals to all independents. He appeals to Democrats. He appeals to Republicans. No, he doesn't appeal to the crazies on both sides. But have we not had enough of that? Back and forth, Clinton, Bush, Obama, whatever. Back and forth, back and forth. Well, I didn't like the way that guy did shit, so I like this guy. I don't like the way that guy did shit, so this year I'm voting for this party. Why? Why play the games? We all know when we sit down in our private homes, all of us, because I'm not a pundit. I'm not here to spin numbers for you. I don't even have cue cards like some of these guys on YouTube that'll talk to you. I have common sense. When we all sit down in our living rooms and no one else is around, what Ron Paul is preaching is what we have all secretly preached for decades. That it's time to end the huge federal government. It's time to mind our own fucking business. It's time to clean up our own house before we try and clean up anybody else's. We all agree on this. We all agree on this. You know who doesn't agree on this? Mainstream. The powers that be do not agree with this because they've gotten so fat off it for decades and decades. They don't agree with it. So yes, I sound loony, but I'm not loony. If we've come to a point in the United States that speaking clearly and with a common sense approach to things, if we've come to a point where that is loony, then I'm fucking batshit crazy. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. You guys have no idea how passionate about this man I've become in the last week. Because I know my state's primary is approaching quickly. A couple months, but quickly. And I know who I'm going to vote for. I've always voted for Ron Paul in primaries, but it's been a vote in passing. In other words, I knew he had no real shot, but I like his principles, and maybe I can send a message to the Republican Party that way. If they see he's gaining some support from some of us, then they'll take notice. Well, it hasn't worked. Okay, it's working this time, and they're fighting back. They're trying to feed you that Romney is the only answer. This is simply not the case. Romney will not gain enough electorates to clinch this nomination. It's not going to happen. You're going to end up with a brokered convention, or you may end up with Romney winning, but you're going to end up with a keynote speech by Ron Paul that the Republican Party will have to respect him because he will be the number 2 candidate. Even if he doesn't win, it has now come to a point that they will have to show him respect at the convention and allow him to speak his mind. Okay, that's what it's all about. It's not about if he wins or if he loses. Not for me. It's not. It's about his ideas are there now. They're not going to go away. It's not going to happen. There will have to be significant change in the Republican Party. Don't think that they're not aware of this. They are. Okay, the old Republican Party is done. They see it in every one of these primaries. They see as Ron Paul gains more delegates. They see it. It's happening. They know the only hope of survival for the party is to move in closer with a libertarian philosophy. They have to. So even if he doesn't win, my friends, even if he doesn't win, he's having a huge impact because there will be more like him. He's dominating the youth vote. That youth vote, the one that drove Obama into power, that fever, he is inciting that, okay? And that doesn't just go away. Those ideas are there. Hell, even Obama ran on these ideas of change and not doing things the old way. He did not act on them, obviously, we all know that, in no way. And I think simply because he was not schooled enough yet in politics to do it. I believe that's truly Obama's downfall, is he really had no clue how inside Washington works. You cannot say that of Ron Paul. The man has been in Congress for over 30 years. The man has voted no to every tax increase since he has been in Congress. The man has voted no to every congressional pay raise since he's been there. The man has voted no to every extension of the debt ceiling. The man has voted against Reagan. The man has voted against Bush. He has integrity, people. This is the person that we dream about when we all sit around in private and talk about how both parties sucks. This is that man. This is that man. No one is going to sway his conviction. No lobbyists, no special interest, no party leadership is going to sway this man's beliefs. And if you think he's too out there, believe me, there'll still be that leadership to rein him in to a more acceptable level. But in the end, they have to acknowledge the American public this time. It's getting more that way. It was that way with Obama, and I can admit that. It was the establishment being astounded that, oh, goodness, people are buying this crap. Well, I didn't, and he didn't deliver. I I feel Ron Paul can deliver, and I will tell you why. Because he has a record of delivering. He has a record of not voting party, of not voting polls, of not voting. This is someone with 30 years of experience. It's someone you beg for. It's not a flip-flop candidate. It's a candidate that stands on what he believes, period. Period. He doesn't care what the polls say. He doesn't care what his party leadership says. And that, in a way, may be his faults as well, because he doesn't compromise easy. He's not a sellout. I don't think Ron Paul will have a problem compromising. I just think Ron Paul will have a problem compromising in the way Washington is used to. In other words, if you give me this vote, I will give you this, this, and this. That's not how he works. It's not how he has ever worked in 30 years in public service. So I think he's willing to compromise on the fact that, yeah, it can't be my way all the time, but it's not going to function on a buyout like it's done now. So, yeah, I'm sure y'all are tired of seeing all my crap that I've been posting about him lately, but I'm going to keep doing it. I don't care. I'm one of the crazies now, remember? So I can do that. I can continue to support this man and laugh all the way to the bank, because even if he doesn't win, he wins. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of average people don't realize, or people that are against him. And I don't think the establishments realize that yet either. They're pushing very hard for Romney to get the ticket, all the time knowing that Romney does not have the support of the Republican Party. What I mean by that is us, the people in the Republican Party. He does not have our support. Majority of Republicans are very unfavorable to Romney. Okay, because let's call a spade a spade. He's a Democrat, or he's a Republican, or you can call him what you want. He's what you voted for the last 50 years, basically. And I think people have finally come to a point in time in history where they're done with that. You know. So, like I said, I don't have any cue cards here. I'm talking off the top of my head. Of course, I mentioned a few facts. Yes, I have read those facts. I've checked into them as far as his voting record and all that. So I do know what you're saying. I mean, but he's looked at as a loon because we, as an American society, have reached to a point that we actually believe things are impossible in this country without the assistance of government. I mean, I watch some of these pundits, and even the ones for Ron Paul or a type of government that way, still always fall back on the questions, well, what will we do with the FAA, and what will we do? I mean, we just can't function. People, we function for over half of our country's history without a huge federal government. Over half. It's just been in decades that we've fallen into this mentality that we just can't survive without government intervention at every level. Why have we become so brainwashed to believe that at every level there's got to be government? Oh my God, Chicken Little, what, the sky's going to fall if the federal government does not involve itself in everything. Please, guys, don't fall into that. You've got to have more common sense than that. You've got to somehow have a feeling that you know better how to spend your money than they do. You've also, somewhere in your mind, even if you're not that far libertarian, you still have to have a thought somewhere in your mind. I know you all do, because I'll talk to most of you that are going to watch this. I mean, sure, I'm sure it'll get recognized by some strangers and some people that call me an idiot and some people that say, yay, Ron Paul, because they just like saying it. But those of you that know me know this. I know you know this as well. Who serves you better? The federal government or someone you elect on your city council or your state representative? Who represents you better? We all know that answer is not the federal government. Who better to decide a community in one part of a state needs assistance in one area while another one needs assistance in another area? No one better knows that than your local representatives. That's where you have to start. Your local government, your state government. They will tackle the issues that you have in that state. There's no need to go beyond that and tackle all of it in a one and done fashion because it's impossible. And don't get me wrong, I'm even going to give you some negatives. I will agree with people that say Ron Paul, he's a dreamer. He's got great ideas. He's more like the professor you want teaching your class, but not the man you want running your business. A lot of people feel that. I understand that feeling because he can go too far out there sometimes. But you know what drives him that far? It's his passion. He is so entrenched on improving our lives as American people. Now, let that thought sink in for a second. He is so passionate about our country and about how it's swallowing us up domestically and foreignly and just swallowing us up that he just is out there. Okay? So what? So what? Because he's right, people. He's right. He's right on almost everything, and we know it. Don't let the news media tell you who your front runner is. Don't do it. You can go back and watch any news clip you want. The front runners for the media have always been, oh, it was Romney and Bachmann and Perry, and then it was Gingrich, and it's Romney, and it's... You won't ever hear it mention Ron Paul, yet the man's come in second everywhere. Does that not tell you something? It tells you that what people are thinking about privately and what we've always thought about privately for years is coming to a reality. So you third-party people, I beg of you to vote for Ron Paul. Don't look at it as voting for a Republican. He is not a Republican. Vote for a man that stands by his beliefs, period. Okay, vote for it. Ron Paul would not, I'm sure the mainstream has you believe that he would go out and just, as soon as he was elected, everything would be abolished. There'd be no IRS. There'd be no, that's not going to happen overnight. The man has even said in interviews himself, my dream society is never going to occur overnight. It's never probably going to occur in my lifetime, which it probably won't. However, you got to start somewhere. And where are you going to start? I mean, everything the main media has thrown at him thus far has just been shattered. They tried to throw the race card at him. It's just been shattered. Minorities are voting for this man in large numbers. Yeah, you can. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the papers that supposedly he wrote? It's already been proven they were not his papers. He did not write. Was he a poor manager for it being on his papers? Probably, and everybody can say that. But it was not him. Okay? You can say what you want to about him because, I know gay friends that vote for him. I know straight friends that vote for him. I know blacks. I know whites. I know Asians. I know Hispanics. Because Ron Paul isn't going to fight for your special right. And that's a problem we have in this country. You're not special. I don't know why people don't tell their kids that more often. I don't mean to downgrade a kid, but you're not special. So you're homosexual and you want to get married. Fine. Dr. Paul has already addressed that issue. The Constitution already clearly states every single one of you have your personal right to liberty. Every one of you. Gay, straight, bisexual, whatever. I say this as a man whose sexuality is not right on the straight and narrow. It's like he says, I don't see the need to get involved with each special right for this particular person because it's already been covered in the Constitution. Every one of you have that right. You have the right not to like gay marriage. At the same time, they have a right to be married. Why is the government involved in it anyway? That's his big question. Not personally how he feels or not personally pushing a personal agenda, but who cares? If you're not harming someone else, who cares? Who are you harming? if you allow gay marriage? Please, somebody tell me this. Please don't say my way of life and my morality, because you can have your way of life, you can have your morality without the government being involved. You can still raise your children to hate gay people. You can still, whatever you want to do, you can still do that. Allowing them to be married is not going to change that. It's not going to change some great moral fabric you guys think we have in this country. That's a myth. That's a myth that my own party, the Republicans, like to put out there, that we just have to stand behind this great moral superiority. It's all a game, people. It's all a game. Look at the person that was front running for a while, Newt Gingrich. He's so hypocritical. I will always give the man props on his smarts. He's a smart guy. But he is such a fucking hypocrite. Okay? You cannot push a family values agenda and do what this man has done in his personal life. You cannot do it. And that's my problem with him. Not so much what he did in his personal life, because I don't fucking care. I don't care who was giving Bill Clinton a blowjob. None of that shit's ever mattered to me. But I care to the point that you can't involve your politics into that and then expect that to still be private, which Dr. Paul doesn't do any of that. It's like you said, all that's already handled under your right to liberty. It's all handled. There's no need to have a special group here and there and over there. There's no need for that. So anyone worried about him being a racist or a homophobe, that's discounted. His papers have been discounted. It wasn't him that wrote them. So, what else can they throw at him? I promise you, everything has been thrown at this man, and he still rises above, because there's nothing you can do to someone who stands on his conviction. There's nothing you can do to someone who truly stands on his convictions. It's something all of us, my Democrat friends and Republican friends and independent friends and people that hate the government friends even, have always agreed on. Okay? You cannot. You want a man who's going to just be untouchable. This is your man. I don't mean he's not human. He's human. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make flaws. He's going to make bad policy decisions. But he will do them with what we as a people know is his truest of intentions. And I want anybody alive in this country to tell me the last time you found a politician on a national level, because there's plenty on local, on a national level that you believe that. Who do you know on a national level that refuses lobbyist money? Who do you know on a national level that doesn't vote with his party sometimes just because, well, his party's voting that way, and then other times against his party because, well, that might be the end thing to do with the fringe crowds? And nobody. I want you to please respond to this. Tell me, what other candidate gave you that option? None. What other candidate can even prove that? None. You have a man who's a congressman for over 30 years. When he does retire here soon, he's not taking his congressional pension. He doesn't want it. He doesn't need it. That's not why he got into the job. You have a man that his own party won't even go to lobby on their side of a bill because they know he's going to vote his convictions. You have a national party that will not, in order to, like the Democrats, in order to avoid a brokered convention, they will not go to him and say, drop out, we'll give you a vice presidency if you do this. Drop out, we'll give you this if you let us have one nominee that we have to be behind. He will not do that. He will not do that, and the Republican Party knows it. That's why this race is so exciting, because they have someone they're not going to be able to buy off this time, because he's not going to sway from his convictions. They know this because the man's been in their party for 30 years. Okay, the Democrats know this because they know it. He's voted along with them. He's voted against them. He's going to vote for his convictions. You have your untouchable, people. You have him. You have him. And not only do you have him in speech, you have him in action. He has proven it. He has proven it time and time and time again. He will vote what he's telling you. No one else is going to promise you that. You're not going to find me another national politician that will. that's seeking a higher office. There are few in Congress, and they're allies of Mr. Paul. Of course, his own son, a couple of others here and there that tend not to vote along party lines. Um, but it's forcing an issue that we or anyone as a Republican has to finally face, that your era is over of big government, that Democrats have to face your era over. This is not someone like Obama running for change and hope. Uh, in any of that, because he's not going to sweep in with massive change. He just wants to fix what's broken. He's not telling you what we have is wrong. He's telling you what we have is right. It's just been mishandled. And that's where it comes down to the reality of it. Because none of these other guys you're going to vote for are going to change the way it's handled. Nobody. And you're right. What do I know? Like I said, I'm not a pundit. You've seen me stumble through this video with ums and ahs, and I'm just an average person. I'm just an average person that for once in my life, I'm going to get involved in something bigger than me. I personally have never done that. I mean, of course, I've voted for Republican candidates, usually out of the lesser of two evil syndrome, or that I felt voting third party was throwing my vote away because they never really matter. All that dynamic has changed this go around. All of it has changed. What we've all said in secrecy can be said in public this time because it is that close to happening. So it'll either happen or it's going to change the way a lot of things are done around here. And that's why I'll support him. And that's why I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And that's why I will vote for him as an independent, whether or not it gives Obama the election or not, because, damn it, somebody has to take a stand. This man's doing it for you. He just needs your vote. Don't let media tell you this man is crazy and he doesn't have a shot in the dark. It's just not the truth. It's not the truth. And let me tell you, I've never been some big media hound. I know Republicans love to get on that and say that, oh, they're all left-wing liberals that run the media. And then you got the liberals that say, oh, it's just a conservative-run media. I've never bought into that huge facade, but I'm telling you, I see it in action this time. Because they are just not being honest. The man has come in second everywhere. He is giving Romney a hard run for delegates. And he will continue to the day of the convention. He's not going to quit. You have to look at this. There's only but 2 or 3 Republican candidates that are registered in all of the states right now to run for their party's ticket. So what about these 4 or 5 other guys that are still running? Does that not tell you something? It's a game. They know they're not going to last into the race that long, but they're going to keep running. That's the thing here, my friends. Leadership and money grubbers are scared shitless because they see it. This is the revolution that this country needs. It's a peaceful revolution. It's the American people finally taking back what we know is wrong. And we can do it. It probably won't happen, but we can do it. We've never been this close, and that's something people need to remember. And I promise you there will be more people in coming history that will run just like Paul has, that will run. It may take years, but they will. There'll be more and more of them. There are going to be more people elected that are just going to vote their convictions. They're going to vote what they were sent there to do. It's going to start happening, all because of this election. And so I will support him to the very end. And I will do it as an independent. I will abandon my party. I don't care. Never been a huge party man anyway. I can freely admit to having usually vote for Republicans simply because I dislike the Democratic people they put forward. This would cause people in my family to have a heart attack, but you might have gotten me to vote for Hillary Clinton had she won the Democratic ticket, which she very easily could have in a brokered convention, but the Democrats didn't want to do it and they bought her out. That's how That's how conventions are run. I mean, if you don't know how conventions are really run, you really need to read up on it. Um, a lot of people like to talk politics and not know anything about the political machine. I'm a rarity in that case because that's what I studied in college, and that's what I'm passionate about. So I understand the inner workings. Okay, so you might have gotten me to vote for Hillary had she stayed in the fight, because she probably could have overtook him. I mean, but in reality, the Democrats were in a very hard position. You know, because Obama was more popular than Hillary Clinton, if they would have denied him that nomination, it would have made them really drive the minority out of their party, because it would have looked racist. It's just the truth, people. So they had to go with him. And he was the most popular one, which should only be fair. But delegate-wise, she would have taken that convention had she not made the deal she did and got out when she did. She would have. That's what you're seeing here with Ron Paul this time on the Republican side, is that him and Mitt are going to go all the way to the convention, except this time you have someone who's not going to be bought off. They're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to offer him a condolence prize, because he's not going to accept it. He will accept defeat when defeat comes on the convention floor. Even if he gets defeated, so be it. But he will not take any special deals to avoid that type of convention. I promise you this, people. You watch. We are making history here, because he will not. He will go to that convention floor and go down losing or go down a winner. And we have not seen that in recent politics. Recent politics, and what I mean by that is anytime in my lifetime, or most people's lifetime that are still alive here. So it's just exciting. And, the guy's principles are there. And therefore, I can't fault him for that, because he will vote his principles. He will push policy his principles. I mean, you people have to realize, if by some miracle he is elected president, this man is not going to go it alone. He will have a cabinet. He will bring people into the fold that are like him, that will approach policy with some common sense, and yet not go all out as to turn the vast majority off. But see, this is the scare tactics currently in this race. They're trying to tell you that he's just this madman, and look at him. What if he did this? That's not going to happen. That's not reality. Even Paul knows that's not reality. He would still have a Congress to work with. He would still have, branches of government to work with. The key difference would be is that he would have the American people on his side. And the leadership will have to bend to a certain point to accommodate those points of view, or risk losing their legislative power that they'll still retain. Because they'll lose that to independents like Ron Paul if they don't. So it's a game. It's a very tricky game on everybody's side right now. But I'm going to go with him, because nothing's going to change me. There's nobody that can enter the race now that could prove me wrong. There's no one else that can enter this race that tells me that they are a man of integrity, that will stand by what they tell you as much as he can. Nobody. Because it doesn't exist in our political system. It doesn't exist. He's a rarity. He's something special, and he deserves credit for that, and he deserves respect for that, and he deserves media time for that. But this is different than the last presidential election, because he was beat down. This time, he's not being beat down. As hard as they try, he's still pushing in there. And I think that will continue. And so I am, like I'm somebody famous or anything, but I'm happy to put my full weight behind him. I am happy to go and
campaign for this man. I'm happy to volunteer my time for this man. I am willing to go all out there and not care what my political friends think of it. This for me personally is huge, because I've never done this, but I'm ready to do it for this person. I'm doing it for the person. Um,
nothing else. And I've never felt that way. It's much the way I think most people felt about Obama. Um, you know, he was preaching the same message as Paul, not to the specifics that Paul does, but a general tone of more of the same is not going to work. He's failed to deliver there. So Americans are still saying more of the same is not going to work. So who's going to push that? And Ron Paul's the only person that's actually pushing that. Uh, that idea, that notion that more of the same is not going to work. But if I get in there, I've been a leader. I've been in Congress. I know how to work the system to get it achieved. I think that's probably where him and Obama differ at that point. Um, anyway, getting back to it, I mean, that's a big step for me to do this. I've never done that. Even in college, when everybody's liberal, I never got into the momentum of thoroughly going all out for somebody, but I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it from now on if somebody runs of this caliber. It's very rare to find, so I doubt I'll ever have the chance again in my lifetime, but I will do it. And I hope you guys do too. Just for the simple fact of let's try outside the box. We've tried inside the box. We know it doesn't work. We've tried it. We've tried it with different skin color now. We almost tried it with a different gender. Well, okay, I think we sufficiently, as an American public, know it doesn't work. No matter how you change the man, change the skin, change the gender, the political machine does not work. And this is the only guy who's telling you that. He's the only one being honest with you. So that's about all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Whatever. Just speaking my mind. Just an average man. No cue cards. No nothing. Anything that comes to mind, I'll just say it.